can managers source more effectively in the cloud? This question was addressed in a recent CAPS research focused study titled Sourcing Cloud Based Services Underlying Issues and Strategies. The study was conducted to better understand the benefits, pitfalls, and challenges in sourcing cloud based services. The study was commissioned by CAPS Research, conducted by Sriram Narayanan and Yu Huang at Michigan State University and Thomas Y. Choi at CAPS Research and Arizona State University. In this presentation, we briefly summarize the key findings for the benefit of CAPS members. We thank our participants and staff at CAPS Research for facilitating this research. The agenda for this study is to first discuss the objectives, discuss why cloud sourcing is unique from a procurement standpoint, focus on drivers of cloud sourcing, discuss cloud sourcing risks and mitigation strategies, and present a simple decision framework. In this study, we wanted to understand the cloud sourcing drivers, risks of cloud sourcing, mitigation strategies, and some best practices surrounding cloud sourcing efforts.
Sourcing in the cloud is a challenge primarily due to complexity of IT infrastructure of most large firms. The rapid evolution in cloud technologies, cloud delivery models, and complexity of computing needs of firms make the cloud ecosystem very dynamic and difficult to manage. In terms of delivery models, cloud can be broadly divided into infrastructure as a service or IaaS, platform as a service or PaaS, and software as a service or SaaS. In infrastructure as a service, the firm sources the underlying IT infrastructure, including networking, storage, servers, and virtualization. In platform as a service, in addition to IaaS, the firm sources the operating environment of the applications. And finally, in software as a service, the firm sources the applications that may be user specific. An analogy that was suggested by one of our study participants is that IaaS is like renting an empty apartment, PaaS is like renting an apartment with furniture, and SaaS can be thought of like renting an apartment with additional services needed by the user. In addition to these delivery models, cloud service models can be divided based on whether they are public, private, or hybrid. A public delivery model is based on a shared infrastructure, a private delivery model is based on a private infrastructure, and a hybrid, as the name suggests, is the mix of the two. In reality, firms often end up with a portfolio of solutions around IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS, and a portfolio of delivery models around public, private, and hybrid so that they can optimize their investments. Each cloud computing model brings its set of risks and benefits, and often complex issues around pricing depending on the needs of the organization. Thus, developing visibility into security needs, pricing for products and services, estimating the total cost of ownership is complex in sourcing cloud services compared to traditional products. Finally, cloud needs to have collaborative decision making between user organization, procurement organization, and the IT organization, as concerns and views of individual parties can diverge. This can be difficult to achieve and can present significant risks for leveraging and deploying cloud service solutions effectively within the organization. Procurement managers need to be cognizant of these issues.
Let's focus on cloud sourcing drivers. There are two components of these drivers, internal and external. In internal drivers, cost is a key element as organizations are facing shrinking IT budgets and difficulties in keeping up with current capabilities. Lower costs of purchasing and maintaining infrastructure can be obtained, and lower human resource investments costs can also be obtained by cloud sourcing. Organizations also may obtain efficiency of using IT budgets as dollars invested towards technology can be more easily directed towards more recent technology. In terms of agility, a key element of responsiveness is the ability to mitigate the risk of failures in large scale IT implementations by providing a sandbox environment in the cloud. In addition, cloud also allows organizations to support rapid growth of business needs across regions and can allow scaling of IT infrastructure. In terms of external enablers, major software suppliers change product portfolio and move into the cloud. Some of them no longer want to support customers on-premise software due to expenses involved, and companies adopt the cloud to meet these supplier restrictions. In addition, emergence of community-related developments such as OpenStack is another important driver. In terms of cloud sourcing risks, we study risks in two dimensions. The first one, across the horizontal dimension, is divided into adoption, use, and exit. These are temporal elements. And then we also divide the risks into internal and external to the firm. Let's focus on the external risks and the adoption, use, and exit component of external risks. First, we focus on lack of visibility into pricing in adoption risk. Pricing of cloud offerings often involves multiple components and various subservices, making it difficult to compare apples and apples. Unclear feature requirements in buying cloud services can make comparisons even more difficult. In regulatory compliance, many firms believe that security is compromised in the cloud. In fact, this does not appear to be true based on our study. One firm reported that security is actually increased with cloud solutions due to strict security standards that some organizations provide and the cloud supplier must adhere to, in addition to regular security audits that the firm also conducts. Some organizations overcommit themselves to customizing the cloud solutions, and that is a risk. Customization is always costly and often defeats the purpose of adopting the cloud. In terms of integration, integration involves interoperability with other systems and ease of data migration. Achieving interoperability in the cloud requires considerable degree of planning, and this is especially challenging when legacy systems are involved in the organization. In terms of use, there is lack of clearly defined criteria for governing cloud delivery. And for example, these criteria may include standards to monitor and report SLAs, procedure in managing service failure in the clouds, process in monitoring and auditing for information security breaches, etc. Then there is risk of communication failure in case services fail. So organizations must carefully plan for escalations, reporting, and resolution of potential issues in using the cloud. In terms of exit related risks, there are two key components, one related to vendor lock in and unforeseen vendor exits, such as bankruptcy or acquisition of vendors. Let's focus on internal risks. In terms of adoption, lack of clearly defined business strategies, IT strategies, and cloud strategies are an important element of organizational risk. This can result in ad hoc cloud adoptions. Lack of governance mechanisms is also a problem. For example, organizations may not put in control on who makes such decisions and assessing the requirements of cloud software and how the internal organization needs to manage assessment of such requirements. If there is lack of governance mechanisms, organizations may face immature, fragmented cloud environments. In addition, often organizations may not have internal security protocols and have processes to evaluate security requirements. Sometimes developing security protocols based on data classification can help. One of our participant companies had a best practice in terms of developing checklists for understanding supplier security requirements within the cloud. Focusing on risks related to use, resistance to change is an important element. This can derail effective leveraging of cloud sourcing efforts. So, managing change in migration to cloud is very critical. In the context of cloud, training needs also should be focused on not just on how to work with the cloud software, but also on change management. And organizations must put in place formal governance processes to control usage in the cloud. For example, these can indicate establishing norms for monitoring performance, norms for evaluating usage of cloud services, among others. So, focusing on internal risks related to exit, data contents on cloud are often stored on suppliers' physical premises. Key risks here are risks of losing ownership to the data and IP rights, and these must be carefully managed. In addition, use of open source softwares requires firms to release modifications to open source community under licensing agreement. So organizations must carefully document and understand what are the potential source codes that go into the supplier software. In terms of risk mitigation, of course, contracts are a key element of risk mitigation. So, in this context, we recommend that organizations should have a boilerplate contract that specify the minimum terms that they absolutely need in order to enter into a contract. Some of the suggested headings for such contract templates could be are listed here in this slide, and I'm going to go over each one of them. Focusing on SLA and performance, it is important to sort of focus on both technical performance and service performance indicators. So, technical performance indicators can be aspects like CPU usage, how many instances are used, RAM usage, and latency, among others. In terms of responsibility allocation for regulatory compliance, organizations need to identify all the deal specific regulatory compliance issues. For example, the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act is a part of this, and or similarly, any other compliance requirement that is a part of the organization should be laid out as a part of the contract. In terms of data security risks, organizations can consider classifying their data based on sensitivity to business needs. So, one of our participants classified data into highly confidential, confidential customer information, confidential company information, and public information. Specifying these classifications can help better prioritize the establishment of security protocols and designing of agreement with suppliers. To maintain data integrity, content is often separated and maintained apart from other clients' data by vendors. So, suppliers use data encryption to facilitate such separation. In these cases, detailing the encryption scope and methodology can help. Procedures for routine and disaster recovery are critical and will need to be discussed with suppliers in detail. These procedures may also address unexpected system outages and data loss and how they are to be dealt with. In terms of pricing, our client organization should carefully scrutinize suppliers' pricing structure and force normalization of prices. Establishing internal benchmarks can help here, and these can be also built into contracts. Clients should make clear in the contract whether customization of codes will be solely owned, co-owned, or co-owned with the supplier, and these are important parts of IP risk. In contracts where suppliers develop the code, the best practice is to make supplier disclose in writing the existence of any third-party code. Risks of constant changes to solutions can be mitigated by having these changes pre-approved by the client. And finally, in terms of exit strategies, it is extremely important that exit strategies are thought of before the client enters into a contract with the vendor. Let's focus on the cloud sourcing decision framework. First, it is very important to build a business case. And of course, a key element of building the business case is to think about the cloud over the long term and aligning the business strategy, IT strategy, and cloud strategy together. Second, organizations should evaluate TCOs. Here, it is important to focus on hidden cost drivers, including training, post adoption integration, or any additional developmental needs in the software. And these need to be thought well in advance. Third, a comprehensive evaluation of overall risk profile should contain supplier risk posture of the hosting platform, whether it's public or private, and enterprise risk posture. Further, focusing on prevention and risk mitigation protocols will also be important. Fourth, firms need to decide whether to adopt public or private cloud. And again, here the important thing is to think about budgetary restrictions on IT and the ability to scale and deliver IT to meet business needs. The trade off between security and cost to support the key business needs is a key element of the choice of the hosting model. Fifth, in evaluating hosting models, while SaaS is viewed as an alternative delivery model to on-premise solution, IaaS is essentially infrastructure renting, while PaaS virtualizes different application development environments. In choosing IaaS, PaaS, or SaaS solutions, organizations should consider interoperability of data with other cloud systems and on-premise solutions, and possibly cost of these solutions. Sixth, organizations should not only focus on evaluating the supplier but also the broader supply base. Seventh, organizations should carefully plan the implementation to smooth out transition into the cloud, and this plan has to be made early on. Finally, it is important to plan the use and development of cloud solutions and set realistic expectations. In this context, we feel it is important to set monitoring mechanisms for appropriate use of cloud services. Some of the key takeaways from our study are that cloud should be a solution to a business problem and not a process problem. So, firms should avoid being driven by availability of technology in adopting the cloud. Rather, they must identify a clear business problem before they move to the cloud. In addition, the need to see big picture around the portfolio of cloud solutions is extremely important. Finally, cloud provides opportunities to fundamentally rethink business processes, and if such an opportunity exists, organizations should readily pick it up and implement some of these in order to improve their overall performance. Thank you for your time. We really appreciate